Hi. I wanted to record a vision that I had. This has been a long time ago, but it's something that I have recently and have frequently had to remind myself of, that I think it has kind of a teaching in it that it's important to for us to remind ourselves of all the time, about basically about the Lord being with us. And so anyway, in this vision, or how this vision came about, was I was praying about something in particular. At the time, my husband was facing kind of a scary, unusual health situation. And so anyway, I was praying about that, and I'm sure other things too, but particularly about that at the moment that this vision started. And I've had visions before, but this was probably maybe one of the first ones. I can't say that for sure, but it's been a long time ago, and I was surprised. I don't have visions frequently or whatever, and this was very much just like an open vision. I'm praying, and then all of a sudden, the Lord starts showing me something. And it was very, very visual, and almost, it was immersive. It was like I stepped into what he was showing me. So anyway, all of a sudden, I go from just praying like normal to I'm literally standing in front of a dragon. And this dragon is huge. It's so big that I actually can't even see the dragon. I know that it's a dragon, but I'm standing in front of his foot. And his foot is like his toe was about my height. So I'm standing face to face with the foot of this dragon. And I'm in like a suit of armor, like you would see from like the knights that had the metal armor or whatever, a full suit of armor. And I have a sword that I'm holding out in front of me. And I'm shaking. I'm literally shaking in my armor. I'm so scared. And I'm trying to encourage myself. I'm trying to not be afraid. My sword is shaking, and my armor, I noticed, was too big for me. The whatever this thing is called, the face shield part that goes up, I had it flipped up or something. I couldn't see. The helmet was so too large for me, so I couldn't see, and I was trying to keep this thing out of my face so that I could see. And so I'm fiddling with the helmet, and my sword is shaking out in front of me, and I'm saying things to myself just like I did at the time. Like, this was how I prayed, or the state of mind that I would stay in would be something like, the Lord could show me what to do. And I was trying to encourage myself in the Lord that as I'm like staring at the ankle of this dragon, trying to determine if there is a vulnerable spot where I could stick this sword that would make a difference. I'm talking to myself in my head of, in this vision, of saying things like, the Lord could show me how to do this. The Lord could show me how to kill this dragon. And, so I'm encouraging myself. And then all of a sudden, the vision, like I'm going from being present inside this armor, staring at the foot of this dragon, knowing that this is a gigantic dragon that I'm facing. All of a sudden, my perspective changed. It was like he took me from that view of that foot and then pulled me back to where I could see it from afar. And I'm looking now at myself as this tiny person next to this gigantic dragon. And this time I can see that from this perspective, that God was right behind me. And he was huge. He made the dragon look small, like the dragon made me look small. And I try, and it was like, I try to remember what God looked like how did I know it was God or whatever. And it's very hard to say, but the best I can say, he was just like kind of a cloud or a fire or a glowing cloud or something like that, which is funny because I didn't even really, I wasn't even interested in that at the time. I just took it for what it was, and I understood that was God, or that represented God, or whatever. But I was just completely immersed in what I was being shown. I understood that was God behind me, and I didn't even realize that he was there until he changed my perspective. And whenever he did that, whenever I could see that he was behind me, I stopped shaking, and I stood up, and I held my sword out, and everything changed. And I said, I don't know if I said it out loud or I thought it. I think I might have even said it out loud. And it was just like, it just came straight out of me without thinking, planning, or anything. I said, this is going to go bad for you. And I knew it. I meant it. Like, it was just like, I had this new confidence that was like, oh, this is not going to be good for you. It's like, this is going to go bad for you. Because I knew that God was with me and behind me, and that dragon didn't have a chance. So, anyway, I tried to draw, or I'm actually not an artist. I tried to do I'm a photographer. So I did a computer composite thing that tried to represent this, and I'll try to put it up here if I can figure out how I'll link to it below. I'll just have to see what I can do. But in this rendition that I did, it's not to scale. I couldn't figure out how to make everything in scale. Like the way I saw it, the cloud was much, much bigger in this perspective. But when I tried to do that, everything else was so far away you couldn't see it. So I tried to do it the best I could. And in there, I'm actually not as small as I seemed next to this dragon foot, but it's enough to get the idea of what I saw. It has the feel and the look of what I could see. So anyway, I tried to do a illustration. But anyway, right after this, what it made me think of, and this is what I remind myself of on a regular basis. Oh, and I should say, by the way, that my husband immediately did overcome that, what I was praying about, and it went away. So it went away, and that's awesome. So anyway, this whole thing, immediately what it reminded me of was when the Israelites saw themselves as grasshoppers. And I pulled up the verse so that this was when they had sent, I believe this was when they had sent spies over into the land, and they saw how awesome it was. But there were giants in that land. And when they came out, most of the spies were afraid of what they had seen and didn't think that it was a good idea for the Israelites to go into the land that the Lord had promised them, because it was already occupied with giants, and they were like, they're way bigger than us. So there were a couple, I want to say it was Joshua and Caleb. There were two of them that were not afraid and said that God is with us. So anyway, this is not that verse. This is just about that verse. So I probably should go back and, actually read that again, but you can easily find it and read it. But the verse was, and there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, who come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. And there's a couple other versions that I think bring out, it's important to understand a little, the importance of what's being said there. It says, there we saw the Nephilim, this is the Amplified, I think, the sons of Anak are a part of the Nephilim. And we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. The reason I like looking at these other versions is so that you don't miss the fact that that's how they saw themselves. So that is how they were perceived or saw by their enemies. So to me, this gives us an important lesson. If you see yourself as small compared to your enemies will see you as small. It wasn't until my perspective that the Lord changed my perspective that I could see that He was with me. And when I saw He was with me, I was completely strengthened and unafraid. I understood I'd had nothing to be afraid of. But before that moment, I was very afraid, and I was trying to strengthen myself by, saying the Lord could help me, the Lord would help me, or the Lord, that I could get through this with the Lord. But it was like this inner struggle of fear and just uncertainty. But whenever I saw that the Lord was with me, all of that went away. And out of that boldness and confidence, I was able to face that enemy. And in my life, what happened was I went from trying to face an enemy to it was gone. It was over. It was situation was behind me. And so that's one of those things that I think, I don't know if everyone faces that. If I'm just kind of that's my own personal battle or what, I don't know. But I roll around that same battle of, having to encourage myself in the Lord, that the Lord is with me. And sometimes, I guess, and maybe it's because there have been times where His presence is so palatable that I don't have any trouble believing that. And then I'll go through seasons where I struggle with that. And I'll have to remind myself, of things that He said, I'll never leave you or forsake you. I think that's very important for us to believe the truth that He is faithful to that word, like for it to be palatable in your life, like a strengthener. You have to believe it. Not that it ever changes, but for you to walk in the peace of that takes you taking hold of it by faith and believing it. And one time I had saw that verse, to be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. And this was early in my walk that I was trying to encourage myself that the Lord had said that. And I thought, well, that's in the Old Testament. Is that is that for us today or whatever? And I had a car accident that day. And actually, I had probably been asking that question like the day before. I think it didn't have anything to do with a car accident that I was meditating on that verse, but that had just happened during that time. And I'm rolling over trying to understand, because, he told the Israelites, and then yet they still wandered in the desert, and most of them died there. It's like, but they had that promise. They had the promise to enter the promised land. They had this, I don't know, that's it. But my point is that I was trying to determine if that was still something that I could hold on to today. And I had this car accident. I was sitting out, and I was fine. And I was sitting out in the parking lot waiting for my turn or something at the auto repair place. And I think I had to get my things out of the car to let them have the car or something. But anyway, my Bible was in the car, and I picked it up and I just opened it up to read a verse because I was needing it or something. And I opened up to that same verse in the New Testament, which I thought was so neat, that I had just been like over that day or so rolling that over. But I was like, yeah, but that's in the Old Testament. Can we still claim that verse or whatever? And then I'm sitting there and I open it up to the same verse in the New Testament. And that was exactly the verse that I read. I didn't even have to read to get to it. But it's Hebrews 13:5, where that is repeated and talked about. I don't have it pulled up right now. But this vision to me is that it's that principle of, letting God change your perspective, to see, to believe, to understand, to take hold of, that He will never leave you or forsake you. He is with you, and that you don't have to be afraid, that you should not be terrified. You should not see yourself as a grasshopper. You need to see yourself as His, and that He is with you. And I think it's very important that we get and keep that perspective in front of us at all times, that we maintain that just at the front of, like, we refuse to be removed from that perspective. So anyway, I hope that helps somebody. I'll see if I can find my illustration that I did and see if I can add it in here. Thanks very much. Have a good day.